All right, I think it's time for the cams now. Cams and timing belt arrangement. So, I'm gonna make something out of all this.
Fucking hell.
Oh yeah, look at this crap. Now I've got to figure out the puzzle of this.
You got two.
This is for the dry sump.
Oh, okay.
Dry sump drive.
Okay.
So this will be...
It looks identical to this almost with no...
It almost does. It is identical to that. It's basically the same.
But it just hasn't got that groove.
Mm.
So what's the go with like cleaning the cams? Like I would have just thrown them in myself.
There was a bit of old oil on it. It might have been containing a bit of swarf that could have been in the cardboard box. It's just like give it a... When you brake clean it, it just gets under the oil, and then when you blow it off, it's just completely clean and dry. Yep. So it's just a quick clean off. I know the intake cam I cleaned before I put it away because I'd done all this grinding.
Yep.
But the other one, it was sitting around for a little bit longer. I just thought, yeah, just give it a quick clean off. Yep. Doesn't hurt it.
So when you put these cams in, is it just the reverse of what that procedure was that you gave us earlier? Just the two front ends on?
No. So the way I do it is this cam and this lobe here on lift.
Yep.
And why I do it there and there is because it spreads the load out over all the caps.
Okay.
So these and these, if you think about it, these and these, the load's on these two caps and it's got a cap between it.
Right.
So if I just draw them all down evenly, rather than just these two.
Yep.
So you spread the load out over all the threads. Not to mention, this is in time where it needs to be for the timing belt.
Yep.
So now I don't need to rotate the cam over with the engine at top dead center, otherwise I'm going to bend valves.
Yep.
Same with this cam. So rear lobes are facing out, front lobes are facing in.
Okay.
So that could be top dead center 1 or 4. It doesn't really matter. So if we think about timing and where it's at, what's it doing? If it fires that cylinder, it's gonna, so it's top dead center 4 at the moment. So really the front lobe should be out, rear lobe should be in. So once I finish timing it, I'll do one cycle of 360, not 720, because we're back to where we were. We'll do 360, and then I'll put our motor over to top dead center 1.
Nice.
So if we think about what's happening here is if we've got the lobes out here and here, if we fire a spark right now, what happens is the piston goes down and the lobes start to come over on the exhaust. That's the next action.
Yep.
So it's compression, and then on the stroke up, it's exhaust.
Right.
So this is the next valve to open, and then it starts to intake.
Yep.
So then after it exhausts, the piston goes back down for an intake cycle, and then it comes back up for compression. So it's top dead cylinder 4 right now. Doesn't matter, it's only 360 degrees out. So what will happen is once I time the engine with the timing belt, I'll rotate it over 360 degrees. We'll put the degree wheel on the motor.
Yep.
I'll put a dial gauge down, find top dead center exactly on the cylinder, and then we'll go through and I'll show you the process of degreeing an engine in, and we'll set it up. Because I don't have a front timing cover here, I don't have a plastic cover to arrange a damper. Like there's no zero mar on my damper anymore. There's no plastic cover, so we're going to have to do this old school.
Yeah. You're normally your procedure now is to get the cams completely bolted in, and then you worry about the front cam seals after because you want to put that 515 under the caps.
That's correct.
Whereas like now it doesn't really.
No.
Yeah.
No. So I bolt it all the way down, like you say. Make sure the front cams aren't on lift, which they will be. It's the front lobes.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll cycle the engine over to a point where they're not. Then I'll lift that cap off.
And install it properly.
Yep. Yeah. To be honest, you can actually lift it off when this is on full lift because it binds it up on the thrust.
Okay.
So the thrust of the cam stops it from snapping. But we'll just, I'll cycle it over till it's not on lift, and then I'll just lift the cap off, you know.
Yep.
We'll see how we go. So this cam's a little bit different, so it's this lobe and this lobe that are on full lift. So I've just got to pull these down, even though these two aren't on a lift at all, so
yeah,
makes no sense to tighten these down before these.
Yeah.
As I'm pulling them down, I'm like, okay, this is weird. Oh yeah, that's why. Okay, let's get these caps off. See, I don't practice what I preach, do I?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm pulling the caps off with a little bit of lift on.
Ah, well.
They're not on full lift.
Yeah.
Alright, so cap off. Cap off. Now I'll go through, get my rag. Now I'm going to clean behind where the seal goes in, because if there's any oil or anything in there, that's going to stop the seal sealing. This can potentially blow the seal out if boost pressure leaks out enough. Alright, that's clear. Wipe down either side of the cap. That's it. Wipe down this side of the cap. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Wipe, wipe, wipe. So, just smear that on the outsides of the cap. You would have seen this in my other videos. Alright, put a little bit of oil up under the cap here. Beautiful. Cap on. 515 and oiled. See the bead of goodness? No leaks out of that. And that's pretty much enough. You don't need much. You get extra, doesn't matter.
So that stuff doesn't just dry, like it'll wash out.
Yeah, if it's exposed, if you take the oxygen away from it, dries.
Yeah.
But if it goes into the oil, it just gets diluted. Like, probably going to be like that. Yeah, it is. That's a little bit tighter on that. Okay. This one's got a little bit more slop. Alright, I'm just going to chuck these in without any Loctite. So I'm just going to put them on loose, guys. Then what I'm going to do, just going to put a little bit of anti-seize on my gear. If you're ever building engines, guys, and you think this has to go on dry, you're mistaken. It's not the keyway that holds this from spinning, it's the pressure of the bolt pulling this in. So if you want to save yourself from these getting seized on for whenever you ever want to disassemble them, just put a little bit of anti-seize in there, guys. Makes no difference. It's going to go on here and it's not going to get seized on when you try and get it off.
So the keyway is just to line up the timing?
The keyway is literally there to line up the timing. Engines these days, modern engines don't even have keyways.
Yep.
You got tools that align everything for you. Lock out everything, drop in pins and things like that, no keyways. So now you just clean off all that, anything that's left over. And then when you go to remove that, it's going to come off nice and easy. So you can see here, they've actually got a timing mark on the front cover, which is good. So my engine's a little bit off top dead center, so I'm just going to use a blunt screwdriver. We're right in the dwell, so it's right in that fine adjustment. There you go. Okay, that's top dead center. The keyway's facing directly up, which is going to put me close to 100% of my top dead center. We'll know more when we put the degree wheel on. So that's set. My cams are in phase for top dead center number 4. I'm going to put my timing belt on. He's also got one of these chain stabilizers, belt stabilizers too.
Yeah.
Put that on. To try and pull it apart. Alright, just loosely, guys. I'm just gonna, this is sort of now in time, so now I'm just going to put a bolt in the front. I'm going to cycle the engine over twice and probably just give it a third time to get it to top dead center cylinder 1 again. Then I'm going to put the degree wheel on and we're going to do the cam timing. Then I'll finish by putting all the front stuff on, the Gilmer drive pulley belt, and we'll fit the rocker cover, or the cam cover rather. It's not a rocker cover, there's no rockers in this. We'll put the cam cover on at the end, glue that all down, bolt it down, and coils in, spark plugs in, and seal it all up, and she's done.
Cool.
So we're almost there, guys. It's getting there. I hear some noises happening, that's probably a good thing. So intake, cylinder 1 coming up for its compression stroke. Bang, cylinder 1 top dead. All right, so
that back, the marks back lined up
marks
again.
back.
Yep.
If you look at the rear lobes, you can see that they're facing into each other.
Yep.
And then the front lobes are facing away from each other. So like I said, the next compression stroke is cylinder 1. It will fire, bam. As it keeps coming around, the next cycle is the exhaust before the intake happens again. So 1, 4, 3, and then 2 is the firing order. So if you want, what I'll do is I'll actually put my thumb over the spark plug hole and we can hear compression. So
Yeah, cool.
let's give that a go. Well, actually, we won't hear compression now because it hasn't compressed. So 3 will be the next one to compress. So we'll start at 3. So fingers in the hole. Let's give it a cycle. So that's 3. 1, 3, 4. Here we go. 4 is going to be the next one. 4. 1, 4, 1, 3. What was I say? 1, 4, 3, 2. So 2. And put my finger in the hole. 1. And then back to 1. So we got compression on all 4 cylinders. How good's that, guys?
Very nice.
All right, should we do a leak down test? So a leak down test, guys, is a testing method of telling how good the cylinder seals when it comes to your inlet valves, your exhaust valves, and your rings, also your head gasket. So a leak down tester is this tool here. Got a snap-on leak down tester. Clear off some bench space. I'll show you what this does. All right, guys. So this is the tester. Now what it does is you put your air line into here. This is a regulator. Now you feed this gauge here 100 psi and that becomes your set point. And then what the gauge here does is if you feed 100 psi in on this gauge measures how much leakage the cylinder has. So if you've got 100 psi coming in and 80 psi going out, you've got 80% leakage. Pretty simple. If you've got 10% going out, that's 10 psi, the gauge reads 10% of leakage. So you can see here, Snap-on determines that a good engine is sealing above 40%. So from 40 to 20, still a good engine, and anything less than 20, I find that brand new engines that I build generally will go from about 20 psi leakage or 20% leakage. Fully bedded in engines, I mean, I can test my 4A, which I've absolutely swung off, and it's got like cold. I can put it on now and it will have less than 15% leakage.
Oh, nice.
So a good sealing brand new engine should have next to nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna always leak a little bit out of your rings because you've got ring gaps.
Yep.
Your valves should leak nothing. So now, how does this tool help us? What we're looking for is leakage out of valves, rings, or head gasket leakage. Now, if this was in a car, what you do is you pull your oil cap off and you pull your radiator cap off. If you see bubbles coming out of your radiator cap, that means your head gasket's blown and you're leaking cylinder pressure directly into your water system. And what happens if it's leaking rings? Well, I'm going to hear it come out of the oil cap because that's going into the crate case, which then comes out of the oil cap. So if I see 20% leakage here and I listen to the oil cap and I hear it hissing, that's the 20% leakage out of there. But how do I know if it's my intake valves or my exhaust valves? Go to the exhaust, listen up the exhaust pipe, and you'll hear it hissing. That's your exhaust. If you hear it coming out the intake pipe or the turbocharged pipe or the throttle body, if you're a turbocharged car, take the intercooler pipe off the throttle body, open the throttle and listen. If you hear it coming out the intake valves, the exhaust valves, the rings, and it's leaking a cylinder head gasket, she's done. So what are we going to do here? We're going to test leakage. We're going to see how good this engine is. When she came in, she was 60+% leakage, so she wasn't a very happy engine. This tests the motor at top dead. So when the piston is at top dead, you're testing the top part of the cylinder. So cylinder head gasket, you're testing the valves, and you're testing the water jacket system. You will, if you want to test to see if the bore is ballooned, so say if you put too much cylinder pressure into the bore and you don't have any concrete or anything like that, and the cylinder is actually expanded in the middle of the bore and it's blown out,
yeah.
What you can do is you take your camshafts out. That way all your valves are shut. You wind the motor down to half compression, so you wind the motor down to half stroke, and then you put the leak down tester on it. You're still testing your valve seal because both valves will be shut. There's no cams in it to open them whatsoever. But what you can do there is test your ring seal at half stroke and then bottom stroke. So you can actually test the cylinder all the way through every cycle of the stroke to test your rings and your bores to make sure they're okay. This test is substantially better than a compression tester because you're testing the actual engine's sealing capabilities in the cylinder. A compression tester is a very quick test to show you, yes, I have compression in a cylinder. If you know what to listen for in an engine when it's down in compression, you'll hear it miss cycles. So I can hear an engine crank before it starts, just a crank. And if it goes, that's a good engine. If you hear it goes, that's down a cylinder. Pretty easy test. Compression test will confirm that. Then a leak down tester tells you exactly what's wrong with the engine. So let's get stuck into this.
Cool.
Here we have our little adapter tool. This is going to screw into the engine. Now you got to be careful with this because we are putting 100 psi of cylinder into the air pressure into this cylinder, and it is at top dead. If the crankshaft is a tiny bit over top dead center, it's actually going to push the piston down.
Okay.
So you'll actually see the engine go whoop if it's too far. So sometimes you got to lock the engine up. It's easy to do when it's in a car because you just put in a manual transmission car, just put it into gear, put the handbrake on, it won't move the engine over. But we're just teetering on top dead center, so the rod is completely up and down. So as long as we don't move it either way, it won't back crank or it won't forward crank. So we'll give it a try, see what happens. Okay, so we're in our set point. So we're putting just under 100 psi in it, but we've got a set point here which tells us to be in. So if we're right in the middle of the set point, we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this on Vico. Do you want to hold that with your spare hand?
Yep.
Do you want to film that and this in the same video? All right, hopefully she doesn't turn over on me. What leakage have we got? Hey! We got what, less than 10%?
I was going to say, yeah, it's pretty...
How good's that?
Very good.
Now what do we got? Let's see, we can hear it hissing. Come. What do we got? I can feel it. It's coming out of the crank. So feel that? Feel the air coming out, Nick?
Where's that coming from?
That's the crankcase. So put your hand over that, feel the air.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So that's rings.
Okay.
Which is fine. It's cold.
It's minimal.
It's less than 10%.
Which is what is like a lot less than what you would normally do.
Mate, this engine came in at like 60% leakage.
Yeah.
Rings, valves, everything was screwed. Come in here. Feel the valves. Nothing.
Yeah.
No air.
No air.
Go to the intake side. Check the intake side.
Oh, heaps. No, I'm joking, mate. Yeah. It's perfect.
Got me. Okay, so we got ring leakage. Do you expect that on an engine that's cold, that's never been run?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
So wait until she's bedded in. That'll get better than 10% leakage.
Awesome. I was standing here watching, wondering if it was gonna crank over.
I was
like
too.
this. You go, oh.
Don't worry, I was too. Okay, so intake's done its intaking. So it's compressing. So I'm just going to bring it up to top dead center on that, which means it's 180 degrees directly out from our top dead center line. So our keyway should face directly down because it's 180 degrees. So a little bit more. Like I said, if I don't get this timing exactly right, she's going to crank the engine over. So the test is the same. I'm going to put it right in the middle of that set point.
Okay.
You're probably going to suffer parallax because of the lens.
Yes.
Like being up there. There it is. So it's just popped off. There we go. Okay, I agree with that. Do you want to hold that in your left hand?
Yep.
Come on, don't spin on me. What do we got?
A bit more, I think, this time.
How much have we got?
Is that 25 maybe?
Yeah, where are we going? So, ring leak. Nothing out of my exhaust. Do you want to check the intake?
Nothing.
Nothing? Sweet. Like I said, guys, this engine has not been run. We're running on the old rings. We're running on the old pistons.
Yep.
This engine came to me with a head gasket issue. I've fixed that and a few other issues. So I'm not concerned about a bit of ring leakage. This thing's going to rebed into its new hones with the new bores that we've given it. So I guarantee you, after we run this for its dyno session, we're going to test this, and it's going to be less than 10%.
And the thing is, like, you didn't have like a normal engine coming in without the time crunch. You would have just remachined everything and started
it
from
had new
scratch.
pistons, new everything.
But you're under a serious time crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made it, like you say, if I had more time with this, I would have put custom pistons in, slightly oversized, custom size. and I would have concreted the block and I would have fresh bores. This thing still had damage in the bores. Remember, this is the cylinder that had those heavy scratches in it?
Yeah.
Man, that's still good for a cylinder with scratches in it, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
what do you do? So, let's move on. So, we got 1, 3, let's go 4. Yeah, good enough. Hold that. Yeah. Alright, cylinder 4. Don't move on me. There we go. What do we got?
Oh, a fair bit more this time.
Oh no. Alright, where do we got this liquid seal? Blowing hard out of here. Blowing hard. So, we've got the ring seal issue.
Ring seal.
Roger that. What do we got on the intake? Anything on the intake? Gonna put your ear in there?
Nothing, man.
Nothing? Beautiful. So it's all ring. I'll take this in here. It's pretty much to be expected. I expected a little bit of ring seal.
You're pretty pleased when you measured the first one, eh? You're like, oh, check that out.
It's an engine that's never been run.
Yeah.
I honestly, like you say, I test the brand new engines that I bring out of here with brand new pistons and rings and brand new everything, and mate, they test up at less than 10%, like 20% or less, always. Here we go, hold that.
Oh, a fair bit better this time.
Fair bit better.
Yeah, what's that, 10?
Beautiful. All ring.
Yep.
Nothing in the exhaust. Nothing in the intake. So it's all ring, it's all coming out of the crankcase.
Excellent.
So it's not a perfect result, but it's not a perfect engine.
Yeah.
This engine is to get us past this event. We're going to be building another engine for this car, so stay tuned for that one too. So that's going to be built from the ground up with every component brand new, and it's going to be better than this one. Alright guys, so that's a rundown of how you do a leak down test. So I'm not 100% thrilled with the results on 2 and 3, but it's still in the green. So green is gold, I guess. So this engine's going to work perfectly fine. I would have liked a better result, but I was expecting to have terrible results on those 2 cylinders because they did have marks in them from when they busted spark plugs and scratched the bores.
Yeah.
Like you said, we could only hone out so much before the clearance on the pistons became too excessive. And it was going to take the next oversize to actually correct this. So I wasn't prepared to wait 6 weeks for an oversized piston when this engine needs to leave next week to go back to the States. So this is a good runner. Those rings will rebed into these bores and that result will get better. It's not an issue that will get worse. This will get better.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously a brand new engine, never run. So
cool. Thanks for showing us that, man.
yeah. All right. So I guess we'll move into degreeing the cams now. What do you reckon?
Sure.
So you heard it from the man himself. Next time we'll be getting a degree wheel out and degreeing in the cams. It'll also be the final part of this engine build, so we finalise the rest of the motor and get it ready to send back to the States. So be sure to let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, guys.